before I actually start teaching you about food, about your body, about what you need to be doing to never have to diet again, I have to tell you why this won't work. I know it seems weird that I'm going to say that, but it's true. See, when I first started teaching women about food and their bodies, it was incredible because for the first time in their lives, they felt like they knew what they really needed to do. It was so simple. It was totally satisfying. And they all said to me, I can totally do this forever. I'm finally not dieting. I feel better than I've ever felt before. It was literally working for everybody. However, I would go back and check in with these women 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, it didn't matter. They all fell off. Wait, what? If I was finally giving them something that they had said they wanted, if they never had a diet again, if they understood more about their bodies, why weren't they doing it for the long term? Well, there's a lot going on with us and life shows up. So if that's ever happened to you, if life has ever shown up, thrown you curveballs and knocked you off your game, you know what I'm talking about. And I want to warn you, because the dieting mentality that so many of us come to this with is alive and well inside of us. And it's going to take a while before we actually work out that mindset. And on a diet, we were on it or we were off it. And diets were always so hard and so restrictive, so miserable, so challenging that when life showed up, it was like you just threw it out the window. You couldn't possibly do the diet or the restriction or count calories or do anything complicated when you're in the middle of some sort of life crisis or when the kids need you more often than not, when somebody gets sick, when the holidays come up. And because I call it dieting PTSD, because we have that, when life shows up, we will have a tendency to go back to what is familiar, to go back to the idea of, I can't keep up with this. And so I'm going to introduce you to something that we talk about in our larger, more comprehensive coaching programs. It's the concept of rackets. And if you don't learn about this, then everything I teach you won't matter because you will learn the last nutritional advice you'll ever need and you won't do it. So many times people say, I know what to do, I just don't do it. Well, I challenge that because I'm not sure we all really know what to do. But even after you learn what to do, you still won't do it consistently. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We can't go into all of that here, but I am going to introduce you to one concept that I think is so pivotal that if you don't know going into this, you're not going to recognize when it happened. And you're going to show up 6 months, 12 months down the road, and you're going to be like, wait, how did I get here? And my biggest fear is that when you feel like you fall off, or if you feel like it didn't quote unquote work, you go look for something else. And my mission and passion in life is for you never to diet again and to understand the power of blood sugar stabilization and how we can truly live with food freedom. This will absolutely change your life, but it won't work if you're not self-aware of some of your own self-sabotaging habits. And one of them has to do with rackets. No, I don't mean a pickleball racket or a tennis racket or anything like that. I'm talking about a racket like a scheme. You know those like money-making schemes or something that somebody will say, oh, that seems like a racket, right? They're usually something that's sort of like not real cool. It's not really legal. And there's usually a long-term consequence. The long-term consequence is typically rate that they'll get caught or maybe they'll, get in trouble, go to jail, something. That the scheme is going to come undone. But there are always a short-term payoff for a racket. And it's risky, but the short-term payoff makes it worth it. And so I want you to think about that little voice in your head as one of those rackets. It's the same voice that's been with you since you were a little kid. It's been basically telling you all the same things. And the thing is, we believe that voice, that voice that tells us, I don't have enough time. I have to give everybody else my attention. I can't work out. I can't eat healthy. Any of the things, I'm not worth it. I mean, think about it. If you say, I don't have any time, then you're never just going to find the time because that voice inside your head, that racket, believes it's true and you believe it. It's so true to you that you really think it's fact. But I call it truthiness. There will be some truth to that little voice in your head, to that racket. But what if it wasn't true? What if it was your own bias of your experiences, of your thoughts, of the things that you've just always leaned to before that are telling you this is true? I mean, at the end of the day, we all have 168 hours in a week. Have you ever noticed that some people use their hours and their time more efficiently than others? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're less busy or have less responsibilities, but they haven't allowed the racket that I just don't have enough time to stop them from doing the things that they know they need to do. So I'm going to challenge you on your rackets because they will come up. And what's the long-term impact of it? Well, you aren't going to consistently show up for yourself. You are going to continue to go down that path where 9 out of 10 people are dying from a metabolic disease. And a metabolic disease like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, even stroke and cancer, all of those are attributed to a dysregulated blood sugar. You are going to learn how to regulate your blood sugar here, but if you let these rackets set in and you don't actually show up, you don't actually do the stuff we're talking about. If your rackets tell you, oh, this is too hard. Oh, this is too much to think about. Oh, I don't have time to do this. Oh, life got so busy, I just fell off. As if that you were a victim to that, the long-term consequences are dire. So if this is a racket and there's long-term consequences, what's the short-term payoff? It's not money, like in a money-making scheme, but for you, it's justification. So every racket has a short-term justification. When you have that justification, you can sleep at night saying, well, I couldn't work out today. I didn't have time. Or I can't do this PFC every 3 thing. I can't do that. I'm too busy. And then you justify not doing it. That's your short-term payoff. It feels okay because you just can't, but it's just not true. There might be some truthiness to it. You might have some challenges with your time, with the amount of responsibility you have, with grocery stores being nearby, whatever it is, everything is figure outable. Marie Forleo, who is an incredible businesswoman, incredible mindset coach, says that all the time. But if your rackets tell you you can't do something, you won't. The long-term implications of that mean you will not be living your life of purpose. You will not get to your best health. And God forbid, you put yourself at risk for every metabolic disease out there. So don't fall into the short-term payoff of justifying your excuse, justifying your rackets. You gotta check the racket. So I'm gonna give you a little strategy that we use with our clients in our personalized coaching program, and it's called SNAP. Okay? So what you're gonna do is start to recognize your rackets. Now, I always say self-consciousness is a disease, but self-awareness is health. And it's being self-aware that's going to be the first step towards you truly being able to change what you need to change for a lifetime. If you can be aware of some of these rackets, you are going to be able to see them when they're coming. And when they're coming, you're gonna snap. I actually use this with my daughter in school when she's stressed out. And I use this with my clients all around food, their mindsets, their beliefs, because our thoughts and our beliefs absolutely will dictate your actions. I can teach you what to do, but you will not do it if you are not self-aware and being able to recognize when these rackets are coming. Otherwise, you're just gonna flip through your day feeling justified why you're saying no and not recognizing that it's a scheme. Okay, so when we snap, this is what we do. We recognize we have to be vulnerable and actually say, okay, this might be a racket. It might feel true, but remember it's truthiness. There's always a little bit of truth to it, but more likely than not, it's not actually true. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can always control your response. So don't let the truthiness tell you it's fact. So first you're gonna do is stop. Just stop the thinking, stop the negotiation with your body, with your brain, just stop. And then you're gonna notice, N. Remember we're snapping, SN, stop, and then notice. And actually notice what it is that little voice is telling you. I don't have time to do this. This is too hard. Whatever it is, I'm gonna fail at this again like I've always done before. This doesn't work. Whatever it is, notice it. Okay? And then you're going to ask yourself, is this actually true? I know I believe it right now, but could this be truthiness? Is there an alternative way to look at this? So stop, notice, ask, and then P, pivot. You don't have to totally believe a new way of thinking from that point forward, but how about right then and there in that moment? You pivot that thinking. Ask yourself, is this true? and then pivot it to a different possible truth. So if you say, I just don't have time, I'm so busy, I do not have time to work out, I don't have time to get my PFC meals together, stop. Notice. Okay, I am saying that I can't do this. I don't have time. And then I ask myself, is that true? I know it feels like it's true, but is it? And so now I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to turn that statement into something else. I actually know that this takes less time if I prepare. Oh, now I don't have to believe that forever. I just need to pivot it for a moment. And I start to slowly but surely snap out of these rackets and get myself from justifying not showing up to being more consistent and showing up for myself. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to show you what to do. Probably stuff that you've never learned before, that nobody's ever told you. But really, understanding that is the easy part. It's doing it consistently over time that's going to be the true measure of whether or not you are successful. And if you don't do this, you don't stay consistent, this won't work for you either. So what do you say about that? What I really want you to do after every single lesson, you can put some comments or questions right in the comment section, but I want you to go over to the Diet Disruptor Squad Facebook group. And I want to know, what rackets are you sitting in right now that you're starting to be aware of that you are going to do something about when it comes up? How you're going to snap. So I can't wait to see your comments in the group. Let's go.